California, and welcome to this week's edition of Your Financial Compass, the show that helps you successfully navigate to and through your retirement. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio are two members from Bulman Wealth Group based right here in California. We have Chris Bulman, who is the founder and a financial advisor, and financial advisor Scott Vlahon. Chris, Scott, always a joy to be with you. It's always a great time. How are you this week?
Doing fantastic.
Good. Good.
He was just talking, or you were talking about rom-coms, and Chris agreed because he likes rom-coms. So he knew all the lines to everyone you referenced.
My wife will be surprised to hear this. Yeah.
Aw. Well, if you are new to the show today, you are in for a treat. Chris and Scott are very excited to be here and have this conversation, all three of us, to share it with you. We often on this show talk about something known as the Complimentary Financial Compass Review. And we will talk more about that as we go on through today's show. But we are going to be talking today about how they use this financial compass to help their clients navigate successfully to and through retirement, because that's our end goal. That's what we want for you. So I want to start off, honestly, planning for retirement can be really daunting for a lot of folks. It's something that a lot of folks procrastinate on. In fact, the #1 cause of financial failure in our country is procrastination. I think, what I've seen in my work as a financial educator, it can be really overwhelming. Folks don't know where to start. They don't know who to turn to, who to trust. So today's conversation, I think, will really help kind of peel back the curtain on what it's like to work with you and the team at Bulman Wealth Group using your patented process, if you will. So talk about how Bulman Wealth Group really assists people in navigating through retirement.
It's funny that you bring up procrastination, because I was
Chris is an expert.
I was just telling Scott yesterday, I have an email that's from sometime last week, and it's about how to stop procrastinating, but I haven't read it yet. So that's a true story. I get too many emails. So.
Yep.
But yeah, a lot of people do procrastinate. There are certain things like a will, a trust, legacy planning. People just, they keep putting it off for whatever reason.
Right. I'll get to that someday. I'll get to that.
Yes.
Yep.
We're never going to die. Just invincible, things like that. And then financial planning. Creating a financial plan. Some people don't know you should have a financial plan.
Some people think a financial plan is just their statements.
Right.
Their statements.
Too,
yeah, and
right?
they get a calculator and say, well, if I double this every so often, I'll. But it's obviously a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
So
yep.
We try to encourage people when they call in, when they come to see us, that it's important to have a financial plan, especially if you're, kind of 40 and beyond. It's really important to have it, because you need to know where you're going. You need to have a map of how to get there, and you need to know some people maybe save or invest way too much and they're missing out on life. Some of you may be happy to hear that. Maybe you can invest less. A lot of others, maybe watching, need to understand how you're investing and how that's isn't enough, and what's it going to look like. Are we taking too much risk, too little risk? But we have what we call the Financial Compass Roadmap. It's our retirement planning strategy that we use. And we cover 5 pillars of financial planning. And those 5 pillars are asset management, income planning, tax planning, healthcare planning, and legacy planning. Those are the 5 areas of focus. But that's just the beginning, to be honest. I mean, it's all about relationship, getting to know our clients, covering those 5 areas. And then clients ask us, well, should we buy this rental property or not? Or I have a rental property in Hawaii. Should I tear it down and build a fourplex? Or just things that they're looking for a sounding post. And that's not what we do for a living, where we earn our money, but it's another way that we help, just because we have so much experience meeting with people every day.
Well, it's a way you add value, because we say this on the show all the time, that how you make a decision in one area of your financial life does and will affect all the others. This is why you have to look at all 5 of those areas in connection with each other and look at it from that comprehensive, holistic point of view. Now, obviously, this starts with getting to know someone. It starts with a discovery meeting. So talk a little bit about what goes into that first meeting.
Yeah, so it's a very literal term. So when we meet for the first time, we sit down and chat and discover. And, unlike a lot of financial planners, it seems we actually listen. I don't want to sit and tell you how smart I am, because you don't care. You want to tell me your problems and begin to find out, is there value we can add? So with the discovery meeting, I always say, one of the things we want to find out, what keeps you up at night anxious, with anxiety, and what gets you up in the morning excited as you're looking forward to the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and really begin to find that out. And that helps us get to know you better. It also allows us, in the context of that, to begin to find out if there's value we can provide. We tell you a little bit about our philosophy. And it's just a fun conversation, but it's a lot of listening on our end. I'm going to ask a lot of questions. We ask a lot of questions, and there's one decision to make. Is there a reason to have a second meeting? That's the only decision. If there is, we can talk about that. If there's not, that's okay. And we always tell people this. If during the course of our conversation we feel like we can't help, we can't add value, we'll tell you, call timeout, say, hey, we're probably not a fit or we can't help, and vice versa. If while we're chatting it's not going how you wanted to go, or you feel like we're not a fit, it's okay to tell us that. And that's the beauty of people. They're not under this high pressure environment.
Sure.
We understand during the course of the conversation, yeah, we should probably talk again because we know we can help. So that's a discovery.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll just add, Scott and I have been talking about this. If you've watched any of our other shows, we do have fun.
Yes, you do.
And so you are not going to come into our office and be sitting there intimidated and scared.
Right.
And, I mean, that's going to end about 2 seconds into it. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about what your goals are, what your dreams, where your money is, where your income is. We're going to have fun doing it. And at the end of that first meeting, you're going to have some really good ideas on how to move forward, what your life looks like, and if it makes sense to schedule another meeting to potentially talk about becoming a client or working together, then we'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, for sure. So after that first meeting, let's say that someone comes in, they meet with you, and they're like, gosh, I really do like these guys. They are funny, but they know their stuff as well, and I feel like it'll be a good fit, and they're going to be able to help me. What happens after that discovery meeting to move forward with this financial planning process?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we take copious notes. So we sort of load up on the notes and make sure that we remember everything about your life that you tell us in that first meeting. We follow up with a summary email that you'll receive usually within 24 hours or less, that kind of talks and reminds you of all the things that we talked about, and maybe opportunities or statistics of, how much money you have in which accounts and what your income is and tax bracket. If you have a trust done or a legacy plan or all those things, we summarize it so that you remember and we remember what we talked about.
Right. And
then from there we have a whole team behind the scenes that begins to gather asset statements, all the additional information we need to back up that first conversation. And from there, especially a budget. And for some of you, it's important to know that we don't care how much you spend. We're not going to slap your wrist for going to Starbucks every day or anything like that.
There's no judgment.
There's no judgment. Yeah,
zone.
I mean, some people spend $25,000, $30,000 a month, $50,000 a month. Some people spend $1,000 a month. And it doesn't matter to us. If you're spending $50 a month, I'm probably jealous. But it doesn't matter. What matters is, does it fit into your plan? And how does it work within your plan? And that's really what we focus on. So we need to have that budget, and that's something that we encourage you to work on, and we help you kind of nail down.
For sure. Well, I think some folks can be nervous meeting with financial planners for the first time and wondering, what are they going to do with all my financial information? So talk a little bit about that. What happens with this info that you gather and collect?
Well, yeah, so we sell it, so you get spam calls.
No,
people
that's
love
not
that.
what they do.
So that's really kind of, we take that as the seeds to begin planting for our second meeting. So we take the information that you give us to start, as Chris referenced, start building out a rough draft of a financial plan, retirement income plan to look at in the second meeting. And another thing we have you do is we get a statement of your current investments. And we also have you take a risk test. It takes 5 minutes, kind of fun though. It'll give you a risk number. And we compare the risk number and we'll talk more about this later, but we'll compare the risk numbers and kind of see, is that in alignment? But that sets the table for that second meeting to really, what comes next, to really dig into the information. But if maybe you've had a plan done before, maybe you have an advisor that doesn't listen, they just want to tell you how smart they are or how much they know. Maybe you're nearing retirement and you really feel flustered, then there's probably a reason to call. You find the number below, or you see the number below, call. We'll listen to you. We'll ask you questions because we genuinely want to know more about you. We want a relationship. There's a million advisors. Most of them see you as numbers. We don't. We want a relationship. As Chris said earlier, if you want to come in, have a good time, learn, and be led, then there's probably a reason to talk. And if you like what you see here,
what
then
you see
great.
Is what you get.
What you see is what you get. If you don't like Chris, I'll talk to you, or vice versa. But all jokes aside, there is a reason to schedule. If any of these things resonate with you.
Absolutely. Well, Scott, Chris, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call to be able to come in for your very own complimentary financial compass review is there on the bottom of your screen. Simply dial 888-970-4685. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Just open up that camera app. You can point, click, and scan that QR code down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team from Bulman Wealth Group will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary meeting that way as well. More on how to help you navigate successfully to and through retirement right after this.
I became a financial advisor coming out of the tough times of the tech bubble in the late 90s, early 2000s. Moved to California, uprooted my life, changed everything, and then 9/11 happened the first week in this industry. I was prepared already to help people from tough times coming out of the tech bubble, but what we didn't expect is there were 3 years in a row when I started of the market dropping. That really impacted my whole career. It crafted and created how we manage money. We don't want our clients to ever lose like that, and so everything we do is built on protection. The goal of our practice and the people that we meet with is to remove the fear and uncertainty that we all face, and it goes back to those first years in the market.
I was a sportscaster on television. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. In TV, you bounce around, and went to Mississippi and worked at the NBC station there and covered, college football's big, NFL's big, all that stuff. And a guy I knew relatively well in a different state decided to get out of TV, and in this opportunity, I always enjoyed finance and money, and it seemed really exciting. I like to communicate to folks and feel like I can communicate well. It was such a fresh, kind of different career than what I was used to that it was exciting.
We go into every meeting with no place to get. We're there to meet with you, to discover your needs, find out where you are at that point, and how we can help you build and craft that plan for the future.
Welcome back, California. You're watching Your Financial Compass, brought to you by the team of Bulman Wealth Group. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm here with both Chris and Scott, financial planners with Bulman Wealth. And we are talking today about their patented process, the Financial Compass Review, and what you can expect when you call the number and come in and meet with them for the very first time. I want to go back, Scott. You were talking about, after that first meeting, you gather a lot of documentation,
right.
You gather information. Obviously, the more information that you provide, the more that the team is going to be able to help you. But talk a little bit about the reports that you run, because they are pretty in-depth and very eye-opening for
They
folks.
are sometimes good and sometimes bad with the eye-opening part, but a lot of the folks that we work with are 55 on up. They're kind of nearing retirement, maybe they're in retirement, really starting to put everything together for it. And we gather your statements to see what investments you have, and then we have you take a risk test, and it'll give you a number from 1 to 99. 99 means you're open to risk and up or down the scale, but we run the same report on your current investments so we can see the risk number of your investments. Mm-hmm. And the eye-opening part is, I've met with a story stands out, met with her last summer, and she's like, Scott, I'm retired. She was in her early 70s, mm-hmm. and she said, my portfolio is really conservative to match my risk preferences. Mm-hmm. She scored in the 30s on the risk score. Her portfolio was in the 70s, and she's like, oh my gosh, she had no idea. It's not a match, right. And that's like, time out.
Well, and what does that mean? Explain what that means when it's in the 70s and she's in the 30s.
Yes, so that means she's not open to a lot of risk. She's only in the 30s out of 100. The higher you go, the riskier it is. Her portfolio is more than double, 2x, the amount of risk she was comfortable taking. Mm-hmm. And while that's jarring, it's also, okay, now that we know, what can we begin to do? And right. I'm sure a lot of you watching are like, gosh, I haven't looked at my portfolio in a while. Mm-hmm. It might not be in alignment with what my current risk preferences are.
And just to tag onto that, a lot of people, when they come in, they think that they're in the 30s or 40s or maybe even 50s with risk tolerance. That might mean that when we have a 2008, and the market drops 40%, their account, they'd be okay with it dropping 10 to 20%. Mm-hmm. But when we look at their risk score, it actually would have dropped 40 or more percent.
Right.
And when they see that, that's shocking sometimes.
And a lot of people got a really rude wake-up call in 2022. They thought they were invested conservatively, and then we saw that year both stocks and bonds went down. Yeah. And it's interesting because this is so common. So often people think that they're invested one way, but these reports really can expose unnecessary risk for a lot of these folks, right? They don't need to be taking on the risk that their portfolio is currently taking. But we've talked about this on previous shows. I've seen this in the industry. A lot of the more corporate firms, they kind of cookie cutter you. They pigeonhole you into these different, are you conservative, are you moderate? But there's not really that attention to detail about your individual situation. And so the reality is we're not cookies to be cut. This is a very individualized thing, and it needs to be adjusted the older that you get, the closer you get to retirement. So it makes sense why there's often that misalignment, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, we're not cookies to be cut. We talked on a previous show about it's a financial puzzle. We have to put the puzzle pieces together. The challenge is everyone has a unique and different puzzle.
Yes.
Every single family has a different puzzle, and if you're following one method, there's one person that's telling you everyone in the country should do it exactly this way. That's just patently incorrect.
Right,
So.
yeah. Well, after you review the data, what happens next?
So the next thing, for me, the big thing is when folks come back in, I think the biggest thing that resonates, number one, we go through the data, but number two, we're looking at visuals. We're looking at how can we explain and get on the same page with our clients on how can they understand it. And maybe it's drawing pictures of buckets and spigots and money coming in and money going out. Other people want to see spreadsheets. Other people want to see charts or graphs. Whether you're a visual or an audio learner, we go through all of that, right? So it's important to just to know that we're gonna keep trying until you understand it. I've had people come in, some good examples, people with $3 or $5 million, and I can draw some pictures and some images and show them how it all ties together. And they get out their iPhone and say, "Can I take a picture of that?" That makes more sense than all the 20-page reports I've ever seen before.
Right.
And we'll keep trying until we can get on the same page together. And there are different strategies. One of the strategies that I think resonates with a lot of people are like a bucket type strategy where we look at money, how much money is going to be. Money has to go somewhere.
Yes.
Whether it's going to go into growth stocks or checking accounts or real estate, or money's going to go somewhere. And so we look at it as how much is going to be in our safe bucket, how much is going to be in our income bucket, and how much is going to be in our growth bucket, and how do each of those work, and is it a 5 or a 10-year bucket, and where does real estate fit in, and where do our rental properties and commercial properties and 401k and CDs, how do they all fit into the buckets? And once people understand how it stacks up, sometimes a light bulb can go off, and other people, they need to see a chart for the next 40 years of what's coming in, what's going out, where's the taxes, what's the growth, what's the risk, and they resonate with that. Another person may look at that and be totally lost and say, "Just look at me and tell me what you're talking about."
Right.
Whatever works, we're going to get there by the end of that second meeting.
Absolutely, and that just really speaks to that individualized, customized approach that you do with each and every client. There is no cookie cutter approach at Bulman Wealth.
No, and Chris said this earlier, because everyone's unique, and if you want cookie cutter, great. That's not going to be us. The only cookies with us is Rachel from our office bakes cookies for people when they come in. So that's the cookies we deal with. But we get that question a lot. Well, yeah, I'm 60. You probably put me here, or I'm 65. You put me here. It doesn't work that way. Everyone's different. You don't go into a store and everyone's wearing the same, purple blouse, what have you. It's like there's a selection, but we have to find what works best for you, and that's the beauty of it. And it makes it fun for us. It doesn't get boring, but understanding that we have all the tools, and not every tool works for every person, and vice versa. So just keeps things interesting for us. But people can also know that it's not going to be, well, everyone that's 60 gets this. It certainly doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and just to, on the tail end of that, there's no perfect investment, right? And what you need to know, if anyone's telling you this is the perfect, all your money has to go into whole life insurance or index life insurance, and everything else is, the world's going to end if you do this. Or everything has to go into an annuity, and if you don't do this, you'll lose all your money. Or everything has to go in the stock market, or else if you do these, that's because that's their business model.
Right.
And what you need to understand is the good and the bad about each investment choice, each investment option, and then come to a conclusion after you've put all the nuts and bolts together and reviewed all the options. Then we put together a plan on what you like and what you don't like.
Right. Now, real quick, what decisions are made after that second meeting where you've kind of shared what you have found and you've reviewed everything? Because I think that's another thing. People are like, well, I don't know if I want to commit or not, so I don't, how far do I go down this road with you all? But what decisions are made at that point?
Yeah, so as we see in the first meeting, we kind of lay what a second meeting looks like, and we tell them in the first meeting, hey, by the end of the second meeting, the goal is to have an answer. It's yes, hey, we want to partner up, you guys are the firm we're looking for, or no, this isn't the direction I want to go, and we part ways as friends. So the goal is always for us, at the end of that second meeting, are we going to be dating or not?
Right.
And if we are, great, we'll get started on it. We'll start opening accounts and really putting the pieces together. Or the answer is no, and hopefully you learn something and it was a valuable use of your time. But it's never high pressure. You know, if you want a high pressure investment firm and cookie cutter, then as I said earlier,
be a good fit.
not us.
Right.
That's okay. But you know, if any of this resonates, if you want to sit down and have these questions, or no one listens to you, your advisor doesn't listen, or you're afraid to ask certain questions, again, that's not us. I would say call the number below, schedule what we said earlier is a discovery conversation, and we'll see where that leads us. You can come in with your list of questions, we'll go through all of them and add a lot of clarity, and then we'll see where that leads us.
Absolutely, but it starts with making that call today. So Scott, Chris, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that call to get that number to get your very own complimentary financial compass review is there on the bottom of your screen. Simply dial 888-970-4685. Or again, you're also welcome to click that QR code and that will get you connected as well. When we come back, we're going to be diving into what's it like to be a client of Bulman Wealth Group. Stay with us, more after this.
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. After nearly a lifetime on the job, you should be rewarded for all the time you spent working. Whether that's crossing off items on your bucket list, learning a new passion, or rekindling the love of an old one. After all, life isn't over when you stop working. It's the start of an all-new chapter. The one where you're the writer and you get to choose how your story will go. A way to achieve that is by having a clear financial plan to sustain your golden years. The biggest fear most retirees have is if they'll have enough money to maintain the lifestyle they've always enjoyed. Having a plan to help protect you against the curveballs life often throws will help to maintain your lifestyle. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
Well, welcome back to Your Financial Compass. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with Chris Bulman and Scott Vlahon from Bulman Wealth Group, based right here in California. And we have been peeling back the curtain today on what it's like to come in and have a complimentary first meeting to receive your very own financial compass review. And now I want to just ask a little bit more, peel back the curtain behind what's it like to become a client and to actually work with you all and partner with you.
Well, it'll be the highlight of your life. Other than that, that's where the fun begins, because we really get to sit in and pour out the resources, put together the investment strategy of, you know, where's the money going to go, and you get to meet our team. Chris and I are very, very proud and prideful of the team that we have. You get to know them. So when you're coming into the office, they're going to ask about your life, what's going on. It's not just a bunch of strangers on a 1-800 line. Then we also introduce or get you hooked up on our Bulman Wealth portal, which is like an online page where you can go in, check your accounts. You can add any kind of financial account can live there, even if we're not managing it. Maybe your current work 401k, your mortgage, or checking account. A lot of our folks like to go in there and just see all of their information.
Have everything in one place.
Yeah,
is
it's just
really
so
helpful.
much easier. And then you know, we really start to implement the plan and lay out the roadmap of that financial compass. So that's, once people are clients, that's where the fun begins, and we can just pour in all of our resources.
Awesome. Well, what else is different? I mean, I know that you really pride yourselves on doing life with your clients. So how often do you stay connected?
We stay connected a lot. I want to talk about kind of what I enjoy about our clients and building these financial plans. We have so many, and every time you know, someone's scheduled to come in, I kind of go through the team behind the scenes prepares everything for me. We've got all the summaries and all the statements ready. But also I can go in and look at the financial plan that we just visited last quarter or 6 months ago. And then I can, you know, we have hundreds and hundreds of clients. I can go back and just take myself right back into their plan by looking, okay, here are the income streams. Here's where they work. Here's what they spend on vacation. Here's, you know, the future pensions. Here are the questions we had last time. And it takes me right back into the end of our last meeting. So it's really, by doing all the extra work of preparing these comprehensive plans, it makes my job easier in the future because I know everything about you just by revisiting where we were, you know, 4 to 6 months ago. As far as, you know, what it's like working with us too, I would say we're an ongoing resource. So our typical clients are going to meet with us any, you know, time up to 4 to 6 times a year, depending on how much they need. You know, if it's a, you know, multi-million-dollar client, and we'll probably be meeting at least 3 to 4 times a year. And sometimes you need more than that. You have big things going on in life, business decisions. So sometimes we'll meet even 6 or 8 if there are big things going,
Sure.
and you're just looking for a sounding board. Maybe
Or
work.
life happens and they need, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say next. Is I always tell folks the door's always open. You know, we're going to talk periodically, but you have the finger of on the pulse of your life better than we do. So something comes up, or a question comes up, or someone at work said this, or my nephew said I need to buy Bitcoin, and you just, as Chris said, an ongoing resource. That's where an email can come in, a phone call, a quick Zoom call. The door is always open. I always get annoyed if I'm trying to get an answer from someone that I'm working with, not as an advisor, but like
Sure.
I'm the client,
Right.
and it's just crickets, which is such a pet peeve. And things don't get left unanswered when folks are working with us. So I always say, in a relationship, we talk about this all the time on our shows, communication is so key. People want to know that we are there when they send an email or a phone
Right.
call, and it's not, well, 2 weeks ago I reached out, I haven't heard back. That ain't going to happen.
Right.
So communication is so important.
Yeah,
too.
and our staff takes pride in it. So maybe Rachel on our team has had a 45-minute call with someone and teed it up for Scott or I, and then, I mean, if we don't do something that she said to do, then she gets upset because she has a relationship. So
Yes.
everyone has this vested interest. You know, everyone from, you know, the front desk to the planning team, everyone takes pride in what we do and has a vested interest and wants to make sure that we're following up with those clients. And the cool thing about it is you don't always have to come and meet with me, or, you know, God bless you, maybe Scott.
Yeah.
But you can come in and ask anyone else in the office. There's so many people there that are excited to help. Sometimes I look out and there'll be 2 or 3 people sitting on our lobby on the couch just having coffee with clients. And, you know, I have 2 choices. I can get back to work, or I can say, well, this is amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you. Stay out there and
Right.
entertain the clients. And Rachel's baking fresh cookies, and it's just fun. Outside of all of that, we have podcasts, we have radio show, TV show regularly. We have regular newsletters that go out. So just you hear from us a lot, and hopefully you like that.
Well, and real quick, I know we only have a few seconds left here, but talk about what it means in your eyes to do life with your clients.
It means that it all comes back to a relationship. If you want a relationship with your advisor and get to know each other so we understand you, your family, your kids, your parents, what have you, sit down your coffee and call the number. You know, if life happens, I'll call them Monday, I'll call them another day. Just do it now and we'll schedule a time to talk, and we'll see if that relationship can start. And that's what we'd be looking forward to.
Wonderful. Scott, Chris, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for watching. We're excited for you to get to connect with the team of Bulman Wealth Group. We love you, we appreciate you watching, and we look forward to being back with you next week.